Good evening, dear traveler. Before we begin, take a deep breath. Let your shoulders relax. Let your thoughts slow, like a tide retreating across smooth sand. You've journeyed far, across ages and myths, through the rise and fall of Atlantis. We will rest in the gentle light of what remains the echoes of their wisdom, the calm of their sea. This is a story, not of endings, but of continuity. A story about how memory, like water, never truly disappears. So, close your eyes, feel the rhythm of your breath, matching the rhythm of the waves, and let us drift together, one last time, into the legend of Atlantis. Imagine standing at the edge of an ancient shore, long before history began to write itself into stone. The world is still young, its mountains breathing softly, its oceans murmuring secrets to the moon. Far beyond the lands that you know today, past the pillars that mark the gates of the Mediterranean, lies a vast expanse of gentle blue. There, on a chain of islands shaped like a pearl necklace upon the water, once flourished a civilization whose name would echo through millennia. Atlantis. You feel the air warmth, perfumed with salt and blossoms that drift from the hillsides. The sea stretches endlessly, calm and crystalline, its color shifting between turquoise and silver as sunlight dances upon it. The wind carries a low, harmonious hum-the-rhythm of waves breaking against white sand and the distant call of seabirds tracing slow circles across the sky. Atlantis was not a myth then, it was alive. The islands of Atlantis rose from the heart of the ocean in concentric circles, each ring separated by tranquil canals and linked by graceful bridges of polished stone. From the Arif, one could have flown it, must have looked like an enormous mandala carved into the sea itself. The central island was crowned by the Temple of Poseidon, a shining marvel of marble and gold, where philosophers, sailors, and dreamers came to offer their thoughts to the divine. But Atlantis was more than a place. It was an idea of balance, of harmony between humankind and the forces that shaped the world. Its people believed that life was a current, not to be resisted, but to be understood. They called the sea Naren, the mother of all breath. In their language, every sound imitated nature, the sigh of the wind, the hush of the tide, the heartbeat of the earth beneath their feet. You can picture the early Atlantean style, sun-kissed people who moved with quiet grace. Their garments were woven from sea flax and dyed with natural blues and greens, colors that mirrored the ocean. They built their homes from limestone that gleamed white in the daylight, and at dusk the walls reflected the orange glow of the setting sun, turning the whole city into a landscape of liquid fire. Their world was one of soft order. Each morning, fishermen greeted the dawn with songs that echoed across the bay. Farmers tended terraces of lush crops grains, olives, pomegranates, nourished by irrigation channels that sparkled like veins of light. Artisans carved delicate patterns into shells, creating jewelry that shimmered like starlight. Every act, no matter how small, was performed with reverence. The Atlanteans believed that beauty and discipline were two sides of the same truth. To live beautifully was to live rightly. At the heart of their philosophy stood the circular symbol, not only of their city's shape, but of their understanding of existence itself. The circle meant continuity, equality, and return. All things, said one of their early sages, flow outward, only to return to their source. It was this belief that shaped their laws, their architecture, and their spirit. Life in Atlantis moved with the rhythm of the tides. Even their festivals followed the moon's cycles. On nights of the full moon, the city would glow with hundreds of oil lamps. People gathered near the shore to sing hymns to Nereid, thanking her for her gifts: the calm seas, the fertile lands, the breath of the wind. The sound of their voices blended with the hush of the waves until it was impossible to tell where human song ended and the ocean began. You can almost hear it now, a soft chorus carried on the breeze, mingling with the scent of jasmine and sea salt. Despite their closeness to the sea, the Atlanteans were not a people of fear. They respected the ocean's power, but did not tremble before it. They studied the stars to navigate, learning how the heavens mirrored the patterns of the tides. Their ships, slender and strong, glided effortlessly across the water. Guided by constellations, they mapped with astonishing precision. They called the stars the silent teachers, believing that to understand them was to read the diary of the gods. Their knowledge of astronomy and geometry surpassed that of most early civilizations. They built observatories that aligned perfectly with celestial events, the solstices, the equinoxes, the appearance of new stars. The temple of Poseidon itself was designed to reflect moonlight directly into its inner chamber twice a year, bathing the floor in a river of silver light. It was a sacred reminder that even stone must listen to the sky. But Atlantis was not without mystery. Beneath its serenity lay stories older than memory. Legends whispered among the elders of a time when the islands themselves rose from the depths, born of both fire and sea. They spoke of an ancient promise made between humans and nature, that balance would be honored and the circle of life maintained. To break that promise, they said, would awaken the ocean's memory. For now, though, all was peace. The air carried the scent of wet earth and citrus groves. Children laughed as they chased each other across the marble courtyards. The ocean sang softly at the edge of hearing, like a lullaby that never ended. Evenings in Atlantis were moments of deep stillness. As twilight painted the sky in lavender and gold, families gathered on their rooftops to share meals. Olive oil lamps flickered gently, casting warm halos across their faces. The conversation flowed easily from philosophy to weather, from the patterns of dreams to the migration of birds. There was no rush, no harshness. Time in Atlantis was a circle tick. You can imagine yourself there seated on a stone terrace, the sea stretching out before you, a cup of cool water in your hands, the taste of salt on your lips. Around you, the city hums, quietly, alive yet unhurried. The sound of the waves folds into the distant murmur of flutes from the Temple Hill. The night air feels soft, almost alive, as though the world itself is breathing with you. The Atlanteans lived as though each moment was sacred. They did not yet know the fragility of what they had built. To them, Atlantis was eternal, unshakably creation, so perfectly in tune with nature that nothing could ever disturb its rhythm. And perhaps, for a time, they were right. For many centuries, the island kingdom flourished in calm splendor, its people united by purpose and peace. Their chronicles described an age when humanity and the elements spoke the same language, when the heart of the sea and the heart of humankind beat together. As the stars rose higher and the night deepened, Atlantis slept beneath the watchful gaze of the moon. The waves whispered softly against its shores, carrying lullabies to distant lands, and as you listened quietly, patiently, you might hear them still. The echoes of that perfect harmony carried across time and tide, inviting you to dream of a world that once breathed in circles of light. Atlantis, the beginning, the breath before history, the gentle hum of creation itself. The dawn over Atlantis arrives not with sudden brilliance, but with a gradual bloom of gold across the sea. You imagine yourself standing once again upon the marble terraces, where the air smells faintly of salt and warm stone. The horizon blushes, and the ocean reflects the first light like liquid amber. The city below you stirs awake, soft footsteps, distant laughter, the clink of pottery, and the low hum of voices greeting another perfect day. This is the classical age of Atlantis, when its spirit reached its fullest grace. The island kingdom had grown wise and strong, not through conquest, but through a deep understanding of balance. Each generation refined what the one before it began, weaving art, science, and spirit into a seamless tapestry. Everywhere you look, the city shimmers with quiet purpose. Canals curve like ribbons of glass through gardens and plazas. Bridges arch across them, engraved with runes that tell stories of creation. Along the shore, tall ships rock gently in the harbor, their sails painted with geometric symbols meant to bring good fortune and fair winds. The hum of the city is like a symphony. Merchants call out greetings in melodic tones. Children carry clay tablets to the schools, where scholars teach beneath open colonnades. Their knowledge flows as freely as water. Astronomy, mathematics, poetry, philosophy. The Atlanteans believed the mind, too, must be nourished daily, like a garden tended with care. Imagine yourself among the students, seated cross-legged upon cool marble. Before you stands a teacher, draped in linen dyed the pale color of the dawn. His voice is slow, thoughtful. He draws shapes into the sand, circles within circles, and says, "The universe is a reflection of itself. What happens in the sky happens also within you. You listen, and somehow you feel the truth of it." In this age, the Atlanteans built their cities not merely to inhabit them, but to express their philosophy. Their architecture was a conversation between stone and wind, light and shadow. Walls curved rather than rose straight. Roofs were domed to echo the sky's shape. Every line of every building seemed to breathe, as though made from the same living material as the earth itself. Temples stood at the city's center, surrounded by gardens that overflowed with lavender, sage, and olive trees. The largest was the Temple of Poseidon, with its golden domes that caught the sunlight and scattered it like rain. Inside, water ran through carved channels along the floor, creating a gentle murmur that accompanied the prayers. Worship for the Atlanteans was never separate from the natural world. It was simply an acknowledgement of belonging. You walk through the temple in your imagination, feeling the cool stone under your feet. The air smells of cedar and sea mist. Priests in flowing robes move quietly, their faces serene. They do not chant loudly. They speak in soft tones, as if not to disturb the rhythm of the waves beyond. In the center of the temple lies a circular pool of still water. When you look into it, you see both your reflection and the reflection of the open sky above, a reminder of unity between the human soul and the cosmos. Outside the temple, life unfolds in graceful simplicity. Fishermen mend their nets near the docks, while children play with shells that gleam like pearls. Women weave fine fabrics, dyed with colors drawn from minerals and sea plants. Traders bring spices, glass, and carved stones from distant lands, their ships guided by the stars. The marketplace is alive, yet unhurried, a gentle pulse of commerce bound by fairness and gratitude. Even in trade, the Atlanteans practiced balance. They valued not only the exchange of goods, but the exchange of ideas. Travelers from the east spoke of strange lands where rivers stretched farther than the eye could see, and mountains pierced the sky. Those from the south brought tales of deserts that sang when the wind moved over them. The Atlanteans listened, learned, and shared their own wisdom in return: the art of harmony, the geometry of beauty, the philosophy of the sea. In these centuries, Atlantis became more than an island kingdom. It became a beacon, a living library of human thought. Scholars traveled from far coasts just to study within its marble halls. Musicians arrived with flutes and lyres to join the city's celebrations of the solstice and the equinox. The city itself became a song, each street, each canal, a note within an eternal melody. At night, when the sun slipped beneath the horizon, Atlantis glowed softly. Lanterns hung along the bridges, their light reflected on the surface of the canals. You can almost hear the distant sound of stringed instruments, a slow and tender rhythm played to accompany the stars. People gathered on rooftops to share wine, to recite poetry, to discuss the mysteries of the universe. Some believed that on clear nights, the gods themselves leaned close to listen. The Atlanteans held a belief that knowledge was sacred only if it brought peace. Their rulers, philosophers, kings, and queens were chosen through long councils, not for their lineage, but for their understanding of balance. They lived simply, eating the same bread and fruit as their people. Their palaces were not fortresses, but open sanctuaries filled with gardens and libraries. It was said that one of these rulers, Queen Althera, once decreed that to lead is to listen. Under her guidance, the island entered an age of prosperity unlike any before. The canals extended farther inland, connecting distant villages with the central city. Aqueducts carried clear water from the mountains to every home. Even the poorest citizen could gaze upon art and hear music performed freely in the plazas. The Atlanteans believed that happiness was not found in abundance, but in rhythm, the steady flow of life in harmony with nature. You might think of it as a great ocean tide, gentle, patient, returning always to where it began. Sometimes, when the wind shifted, the people said they could hear the sea whispering to them, a reminder that balance was never owned, only borrowed. Listen, an elder might tell a child, and the sea will teach you how to live. And so they listened. Days became years, and years became centuries. Atlantis thrived, a jewel upon the ocean, a kingdom of marble and music, of philosophy and peace. Its reputation spread like sunlight across the waters, reaching lands that would one day become Greece, Egypt, and beyond. But perfection, even the gentlest kind, carries within it the seed of change. In the shadows of its brilliance, small desires began to stir, a wish for greater power, a curiosity about what lay beyond the horizon. Those whispers were faint, almost harmless then, like the first ripples before a storm. For now, though, the sea remains calm, the stars steady above, and the people of Atlantis sleep beneath the soft glow of the moon, unaware that their greatest age is also their most delicate. You take one last look at the glowing city, its lights mirrored in the still water. The air hums with life, balance, and beauty. The ocean breathes quietly, as though cradling the island in its arms. And as your eyes grow heavy, you feel the rhythm of Atlantis settle deep within you, the rhythm of harmony, of endless circles, of life at peace with itself. The sea around Atlantis has always been wide, but in the heart of its people, it was never a barrier. It was a bridge, a vast, moving mirror that connected them to the unseen edges of the world. Now imagine yourself standing on the western docks of the great city, where the horizon gleams like molten gold. Ships sway softly, their sails breathing in the wind. The scent of cedar, salt, and distant spices mingles in the air. You hear the voices of sailors preparing to depart, low and rhythmic, as if they too follow the music of the tides. This is a time when Atlantis has grown curious. The Atlanteans have studied their stars for generations, and now the constellations whisper new routes to them, paths across the ocean that call like distant bells. Their mariners are dreamers and scholars both, guided not only by compasses, but by intuition, by an unshakable trust in the harmony between sea and sky. You imagine one of these ships leaving the harbor. Its hull gleams with the soft sheen of oil. Its sails are marked with spirals and waves, symbols of protection. As it glides away, the city's reflection ripples across the water, breaking gently into 1,000 glints of light. The sailors sing a quiet hymn to Naren, the mother of all breath, asking her to guide them safely to wherever the sea may wish to lead. Weeks pass, months, perhaps, and then they return, their ships heavier, not with gold or conquest, but with stories. They speak of lands where the sun burns deeper and rivers coil like serpents across red earth. They tell of people who paint their stories upon cave walls, who worship mountains as living gods. From the Far East, traders bring woven silks, obsidian mirrors, and small figurines of strange deities with falcon heads. From the south come travelers who wear linen and carry scrolls, inked with sacred geometry lines and triangles that mirror those already known to Atlantis. Atlantis listens. It always listens. The people welcome these wanderers into their city. The marketplaces become a mosaic of languages, Atlantean, Phoenician, Egyptian, and tongues long since forgotten by modern ears. Words mix like pigments, and from their blending emerges something entirely new. You walk through these markets in your imagination. The air hums with gentle conversation, the soft clatter of bronze, the whisper of silk unfurling, spices, perfume, the wind, cinnamon, myrrh, saffron. Musicians play instruments unlike any you've heard before, flutes carved from reeds, drums stretched with fishskin, strings that sing with a low, earthy tone. Here the Atlanteans begin to change, not in spirit, but in expression. New gods find a home beside old ones. In the temple of Poseidon, a small statue of the Egyptian Thoth now stands quietly in a corner, as if listening. Architects experiment with unfamiliar forms, columns that rise higher, roofs that sweep outward like wings. Artists carve motifs of suns and serpents beside their traditional spirals, honoring both the native and the foreign in the same breath. It is an age of mingling, of curiosity, of exchange. The philosophers of Atlantis debate the meaning of these encounters. Some say they are proof that all wisdom springs from the same divine source. Others fear that too much change might disturb the delicate balance that sustains their world. One evening, as you walk through the city, you hear a conversation between two scholars. Their robes flutter softly in the wind as they stand beside a fountain. Every tide brings something new, says the first, and each wave that touches our shore carries a lesson. The second smiles faintly. But if too many waves come at once, he replies, will not the sand beneath us begin to shift? Their voices fade into the sound of water, and you realize that both may be right. Still, the people of Atlantis do what they have always done. They observe, they learn, they adapt. Trade routes stretch farther now, reaching shores once thought unreachable. In return, foreign visitors bring not only goods, but ideas, new ways to heal, to calculate, to imagine. In the schools, young Atlanteans now study the patterns of the Nile alongside their own ocean currents. They learn to mix pigments in the Egyptian way, to record language with sharper symbols. Their astronomers chart constellations seen from lands beyond the horizon. The circle expands. But even as Atlantis absorbs these influences, something subtle begins to stir beneath the surface. A quiet tension between the old and the new. Some elders whisper that the younger generation has grown restless, their thoughts too wide, their dreams too bold. Others see it as the necessary pulse of progress, the universe breathing through its chosen children. Still, the island remains at peace. The canals glimmer, the temples sing. The wind carries laughter across the terraces. At night, foreign and local voices gather together beneath lanterns, sharing stories in the gentle twilight. There is wine made from sea grapes, bread baked with fragrant herbs, and the sound of distant surf filling every pause in conversation. You can almost see the reflection of firelight in their eyes, warm, curious, alive. For a brief moment in time, Atlantis becomes the beating heart of the known world, a meeting place of wisdoms, a harbor of harmony. Its influence ripples outward across the ocean, reaching even those who will one day tell tales of its glory in whispers and wonder. And yet, beneath all the beauty, you can sense something shifting. Not a storm, not yet, only a subtle imbalance, like a note just slightly out of tune in an otherwise perfect melody. The more Atlantis reaches outward, the more fragile its inner rhythm becomes. Perhaps this is the nature of all great civilizations, to grow until they must learn again how to be still. As you stand once more on the marble terrace overlooking the sea, the breeze brushes your skin. It smells faintly of something foreign, sandalwood maybe, or desert dust carried by distant winds. The stars above seem unchanged, yet somehow closer, brighter. You close your eyes and listen. The waves lap softly against the harbor walls. Somewhere, a flute plays, a song neither wholly Atlantean nor foreign, but something new, born of their meeting. It rises and falls like breath itself. The ocean sighs, timeless and patient, as if watching the island's slow transformation with knowing eyes. Atlantis is growing outward, onward, endlessly curious, still balanced, for now, on the shimmering line between harmony and hunger. And as you drift into the sound of the waves, you feel the story turning gently, like a tide preparing to change direction. Atlantis dreams of distant shores, and the distant shores begin to dream of Atlantis. Imagine a world wrapped in light. Morning after morning, the sun rises over Atlantis and finds nothing but brilliance. Marble shining like frost, canals glowing silver, fields bending under the weight of abundance. The sea itself seems calmer, gentler, as if lulled by the beauty it surrounds. You are there again, walking through the heart of the city at the height of its greatness. The air is sweet, with the scent of orange blossoms and wet stone. The sound of fountains follows you wherever you go, water singing softly through carved channels that coil through courtyards and along shaded streets. Every movement of the city feels alive, pulsing with quiet rhythm. This is the golden age, the moment when all the seeds planted by centuries of wisdom finally bloom. Atlantis is no longer just a place upon the ocean. It is the ocean's reflection, its voice, its song. The city itself glows at night. The Atlanteans have learned to harvest the energy of the sea, crystals drawn from the ocean floor that capture daylight and return it slowly as radiance after dusk. The streets are lit not by flame, but by spheres of pale blue light that hover within glass bowls. They call them breathing stones because their glow seems to pulse like a living heart. By day, the canals shimmer with the reflection of bridges, temples, and towers that reach gracefully toward the clouds. The architecture of Atlantis has evolved domes shaped like seashells, towers that spiral like conch shells, bridges arched in the form of waves. The Atlanteans have learned to design with the elements, not against them. Even the wind finds pleasure in passing through their cities, whispering through corridors in low, soothing tones. You wander through the marketplace, where the stalls overflow with color, fruits of coral pink and emerald green, fabrics that shimmer like the wings of insects, pottery painted with spirals of gold. The people move without haste. Each trade is a conversation, each exchange accompanied by a smile. There is no shouting, no harshness, only the steady rhythm of life in perfect balance. Music fills the air, everywhere. On street corners, musicians play soft flutes made from reeds, their notes mingling with the murmur of the crowd. From balconies, stringed instruments hum in long, slow chords. The Atlanteans believe that music is a form of prayer, that every note, if played with intention, brings harmony between the soul and the world around it. Even the simplest melody becomes a meditation. You pause by a small fountain, watching a group of children play nearby. They drop polished stones into the water, counting the ripples as they expand outward. One of them says, each ripple touches another and another until it touches the sea. The others nod solemnly, as if reciting something they all already know. It is a truth woven into their lives that every action, no matter how small, echoes endlessly outward. At the edges of the city, the great academies stand open to the sea breeze, filled with scholars, artists, and healers. Their rooms smell of parchment and salt air. Students study anatomy alongside geometry, poetry beside astronomy. There is no separation between science and spirit here. Both are seen as languages that describe the same truth. In one courtyard, you watch as inventors test their new creations. There are water wheels powered by the tide, pulleys that lift great blocks of stone with the strength of a single hand, and delicate metal devices that measure the direction of the wind. Some even speak of machines that use sunlight itself to power their work. Yet none of this is done in haste or greed. The Atlanteans see invention as an offering, a gift to the world, not a claim upon it. At the center of the city rises the Hall of Circles, a place where thinkers and dreamers meet to exchange ideas. There are no thrones, no pedestals, only a wide ring of seats where all are equal. You imagine sitting among them as they speak of balance, of energy, of the invisible threads that bind all life. Their discussions are not arguments, but dances, slow, graceful exchanges, where silence holds as much weight as speech. As day turns to evening, the city softens into gold. The air cools, carrying the scent of jasmine and the sea. Torches of blue light bloom along the walkways, and bells sound softly from the temples to mark the close of another harmonious day. The Atlanteans gather for the Festival of Waters, one of their most sacred celebrations. You follow the sound of singing toward the harbor, where thousands of people stand side by side along the canals. They hold small bowls filled with scented oil, each one reflecting the starlight above. At the sound of a conch shell, they release them gently into the water, letting the lights drift outward in rippling trails of silver. The sight is breathtaking, a galaxy upon the sea. The priests speak softly, blessing the waves and thanking Naren, the mother of breath, for her patience and protection. We give to the sea, they say, because we are the sea. The crowd repeats it in unison, their voices rising like a single exhalation. The city glows, the water glows, the very air glows, and for a heartbeat, all the boundaries between sky, sea, and human fade away. You feel it too, that deep calm that comes when everything is connected. Atlantis, in this age, is at its purest. There is no hunger, no conflict, no greed. The people live long lives filled with meaning and art. Their medicine is advanced. Their gardens flourish. Their poetry touches the soul like sunlight touches leaves. The rhythm of the tides has become the rhythm of their hearts. And yet, somewhere beyond the horizon, change waits quietly. For now, though, the night belongs to peace. The moon climbs high, tracing a path across the open sea. The waves move gently against the marble walls of the harbor. You can almost hear them whisper, not words, but something like a promise, or perhaps a warning. The Atlanteans pay it no mind. To them, the ocean's voice has always been kind. You linger on the terraces long after the festival ends. The air is cool against your skin, the stars bright above. Lanterns drift farther out into the sea until they become small, trembling points of light. Somewhere, a distant harp plays a slow, graceful tune. Atlantis breathes, tall, golden, radiant. And as you close your eyes, you feel that same light inside you, the warmth of a civilization that knew how to live with grace, how to listen to the wind, how to let beauty be enough. The waves murmur softly, as if repeating what every Atlantean already knows. All things rise, all things return. For now, the island still glows, untouched, unbroken, and utterly at peace. But the ocean never forgets. It watches, patient and infinite, waiting for the moment when the circle must turn again. Imagine standing once more at the edge of the Atlantean shore. The sea looks the same, endless, silver, serene, but something in its rhythm has changed. The waves arrive with a faint hesitation, as if uncertain whether to kiss the land or retreat forever. At first, no one notices. The air is still fragrant, the markets still full, the temples still ring with song. But beneath the surface, invisible and slow, the pulse of Atlantis begins to falter. The Atlanteans had always believed that balance was eternal, that harmony, once achieved, would sustain itself. Yet the truth of the world is more subtle. Every balance must be renewed, tended, and understood anew. The people, lulled by centuries of peace, begin to forget this gentle truth. You walk through the city, and you can sense it, not in the noise of conflict, but in the silence between words. The once busy canals now flow a little slower. Merchants speak with less warmth. Scholars debate longer, but listen less. The air feels heavier, as though the island itself is holding its breath. It begins with small things. In the fields, the tides shift just slightly, flooding areas once fertile. The farmers whisper that the sea has become temperamental, that the breathing stones glow dimmer each year. At first, priests dismiss it as natural change, a minor cycle of the earth. But as seasons pass, the crops grow uneven, the fish swim farther away, and the rains fall at strange times. The people adapt, as they always have. They build new irrigation systems, invent floating farms, and expand trade with distant lands. Yet with each adjustment, the connection they once felt with nature seems to stretch thinner, like silk drawn too tight. The Atlantean Council, once a circle of equals, begins to shift as well. Wealth gathers in certain hands, merchants who control the ports, scholars who command the energy crystals. Power, once seen as a duty, begins to look like possession. Decisions take longer, and not everyone's voice carries the same weight anymore. You imagine sitting in the Hall of Circles now. The air feels different. Where once there was calm debate, now there is careful hesitation, each speaker measuring words, each silence growing longer. Ideas that once flowed freely now move like thickened honey. The glow of the crystal lamps seems colder, their soft blue light tinged with gray. Even art begins to change. Songs that once celebrated harmony now dwell on nostalgia, remembering the golden age that still exists but already feels distant. Poets write about still waters, empty harbors, the quiet sadness of things once whole. Painters turn from bright coral tones to muted golds and silvers. And yet, to the casual eye, Atlantis still looks beautiful, still powerful, still whole. That is the strange grace of decline. It arrives, wrapped in silence, almost invisible. You walk down toward the harbor, where the festival of waters once filled the canals with shimmering light. Now, fewer bowls float upon the surface. The songs are softer, slower, the smiles more tired. A priestess speaks her blessing, but her voice trembles. The people still repeat the ancient phrase, "We give to the sea, because we are the sea," but the words sound less like gratitude and more like memory. In the academies, curiosity gives way to pride. The scholars, once devoted to the search for balance, now seek control. They begin to experiment with the energy crystals, pushing their limits, trying to capture more light, to command rather than listen. Some succeed, creating devices that hum with power. Others fail, leaving crystals cracked and dark. One evening, as you walk past the laboratories that line the western cliffs, you hear the low hum of a new machine, a sphere that pulses with a harsh white light. A young scholar watches it with fascination. "We can make our own sun," he says. His voice trembles with awe, but you can feel something uneasy behind it. The priests warn of imbalance, that the crystals are alive, that they respond to emotion, that greed clouds their light. But the warnings go unheard. The city hungers for more energy, more light, more control. What was once worship becomes ambition, and still the changes remain gentle, so soft that most believe nothing is wrong. The nights grow warmer, the tides rise higher, the crystals flicker faintly, but life goes on. Only the old ones notice the shift in the stars, the slow tilting of the seasons, the silence of the once joyful dolphins that used to dance near the harbor. You can almost feel the ocean watching, patient, ancient, remembering. In the hills beyond the city, the temples remain serene. Monks still tend the sacred pools and speak their prayers at dawn, but their numbers dwindle. Fewer young people come to learn the old songs. They say the old ways are too slow, too quiet, too bound. to tradition. The world, they argue, must move forward. Forward, though no one seems to know toward what. You sit beside one of the remaining elders, a woman with hair silver as moonlight. She watches the horizon with calm eyes. The island is breathing too fast, she murmurs. When the heart beats too quickly, even beauty can become fragile. Her words linger long after you leave her side. In the city below, life continues, glittering, thriving, unaware. New towers rise, adorned with metals that catch the sun in dazzling reflection. The people wear brighter garments, eat richer foods, sing louder songs. It almost feels as if they're trying to outshine the quiet, to fill the silence before it grows too deep. But harmony cannot be forced, and so the time of unraveling moves quietly forward. Not a fall, not yet, but a slow loosening of threads. The balance that once held sky, sea, and heart together begins to tremble. You can almost feel it under your feet, a faint vibration, a pulse deep within the earth. Not enough to cause fear, just enough to remind you that even the mightiest island rests upon a living ocean. Night comes, heavy and warm. You stand once more by the water's edge. The lanterns reflect softly on the surface, flickering like distant stars. The city glows behind you, golden, perfect, fragile. You hear the sea sigh, and for the first time, the sound does not comfort. It feels like a warning, gentle but certain. The time of harmony is fading, not with thunder, not with fire, but with the slow, inevitable rhythm of change. And yet, even as the first cracks appear, Atlantis still dreams. Its people still hope, still build, still sing, because decline is never sudden. It is a long twilight between what was and what is coming. You close your eyes, listening to the waves whisper their ancient lullaby, the same lullaby they have always sung. All things rise, all things return. The sea breathes in, the island exhales, and somewhere, far beneath the shimmering surface, the ocean begins to stir. Morning rises, slow and amber. The ocean holds a stillness that feels almost ceremonial. The waves seem to pause, as if waiting, and above them, Atlantis awakens once again. The city remains magnificent. From the distant mountains to the shining harbors, marble and crystal catch the sun in quiet reverence. But the brilliance feels different now. It's a little too bright, a little too deliberate, like a smile held too long. You walk through the streets where once laughter echoed freely. The air is still sweet, the fountains still sing, yet something unseen presses upon the rhythm of life. The Atlanteans know it now. They feel it in the weight of the air, in the tremor beneath the ground, in the restless hum of their own inventions. They call this era the renewal. Others whisper another name, the transformation. The Council of Circles, long divided by quiet rivalries, gathers once more. This time they speak not of philosophy, but of survival. The ocean is changing, warmer, unpredictable. The energy crystals, once steady and serene, flicker with unstable light. Fields yield less with each harvest. Still, Atlantis refuses despair. Its people turn to what they have always trusted, knowledge. The academies awaken with new purpose. Scholars work without rest, designing devices that can balance the tides, restore fertility to the soil, even calm the tremors deep beneath the sea. The old temples, once quiet with meditation, opened their doors to scientists. Priests and inventors now share the same tables, blending spirit and science into a single pursuit to heal the world they had once mastered. You wander through one such place, the Sanctum of Spheres, a vast hall carved from luminous stone. At its center stands an enormous globe of the world, made of clear crystal and silver veins. It rotates slowly, powered by the faint hum of magnetic energy. Around it, scholars trace patterns of wind and current, their robes brushing the marble-like soft sides. One woman, her eyes bright and distant, speaks as you pass. The earth breathes like we do, she says. We have forgotten how to listen to her breath. Her words carry a quiet urgency. For the first time in generations, the Atlanteans are listening again. All across the island, projects rise. Great towers are built along the coasts, meant to stabilize the tides with vast magnetic fields. Floating gardens bloom upon the water, designed to feed the growing population. Crystals are refined, layered, and tuned into new frequencies. The air hums with energy, hope, innovation, determination. The people believe that through wisdom, harmony can be restored. And for a while, it seems to work. The harvests improve. The sea grows calm again. The lights of the city burn brighter than ever before. The council declares a new age of unity, the rebirth of Atlantis. Bells ring through the night. The people celebrate, not with pride, but with relief. They have saved their home. Yet beneath the jubilation, a deeper current flows. You notice it in the way the crystals glow, their light more vivid but less stable, in the way the sea sometimes glitters too brightly, reflecting strange colors, in the faint tremors that ripple beneath your feet when the tower's machines pulse at full strength. Atlantis has learned to command the elements, but in doing so, it has begun to speak louder than the earth itself. In the northern quarter of the city, a young inventor named Orion creates a device unlike any before. It is called the Heart of Tides, a massive crystalline engine said to draw energy directly from the CS currents and distribute it across the island. It hums like a living thing, pulsing with rhythm that mirrors the waves. Priests gather to bless it. Scholars gather to study it. The people gather to watch it glow. The first night it is activated, the entire city shimmers. Every lamp, every tower, every canal lit with radiant light that dances across the ocean like 1,000 suns. The crowd cheers. Children laugh. For a moment, hope returns in full bloom. But as the heart grows stronger, so too does the sea's response. Days later, you notice the tides rising, unexpectedly high. Fishermen whisper of strange lights deep beneath the water, great, swirling auroras that pulse in time with the machine. Dolphins no longer swim close to the shore. Birds fly inland at night, their cries echoing across the hills. Still, the council hesitates to stop. The system is stabilizing, they insist. We are merely witnessing adjustment. But the monks in the mountain temples begin to pray day and night. They say the sea is speaking again, and its voice is not one of peace. You climb once more to the high terraces of the old temple, where the elder priestess still keeps her vigil. The air there feels different, thinner, electric. She listens to the wind for a long time before she speaks. The world remembers its balance, she murmurs, and balance always returns. If we have pulled too much toward the light, then the darkness will rise to meet it. Her words are not a curse, but a truth. As the months pass, the tremors grow stronger. The once clear sky often clouds with mist. Yet the city continues to hum with innovation. The Atlanteans build ever greater machines, not from arrogance now, but from fear. They hope to fix the earth before it slips from their grasp. In the evenings, as you walk along the shimmering canals, you hear their songs, quieter now, wistful. They still believe. They must believe. The people of Atlantis have never known surrender, and yet sometimes belief is not enough. On one tranquil night, as the moon climbs over the sea, the heart of tides pulses brighter than ever before. The light fills the city, washing over every stone and tower in a radiant wave. For a moment, it feels like dawn has arrived early, too early. Then, just as slowly, the light begins to dim. The hum ceases. The sea grows utterly still, and the silence that follows is deep, too deep. You realize then that even the ocean needs rest, that even the brightest flame must pause before it consumes itself. Atlantis has reached the peak of its transformation, radiant, trembling, breathtaking, and beneath it all, the ocean stirs once more. Far below the shimmering water, the currents twist and turn like something awakening from a long sleep. The sea has always listened. It has always remembered. You stand there, the night wind brushing your face, and you feel both awe and sorrow. The city still glows, still sings, still believes, but somewhere the first note of the final song has already begun, and as always, the ocean whispers the same gentle refrain. All things rise, all things return. The age of transformation fades like twilight, leaving behind beauty, brilliance, and the faint shadow of what comes next. Imagine, for a moment, the sea after silence. The waves have long since reclaimed their rhythm, slow and eternal. The towers of Atlantis, once bright as sunrise, now rest beneath the weight of centuries, their marbles softened by silt and coral. Fish glide through broken archways. The sea grasses dance where once poets walked. But though the island has vanished from sight, its spirit has not. The memory of Atlantis moves like a current through time, unseen, yet felt everywhere. You might picture yourself, centuries later, standing on a quiet shore somewhere far away. The night air is cool. The horizon hums faintly, as though remembering something vast and old. And as the wind brushes your face, you can almost hear it, a whisper, soft and rhythmic, the song of Atlantis carried through the ages. Long after the oceans swallowed the island, sailors began to speak of a city beneath the waves, a city that glowed faintly on calm nights, its lights flickering like stars beneath the sea. They said that if you listened closely, you could hear faint music rising from the depths, flutes and harps playing melodies older than memory itself. They called it the Singing Sea. Generations passed, and the story changed shape. Some said the Atlanteans were a people of gods, others that they were mortals punished for their pride. Yet beneath every version, the same truth lingered, that once there had been a place where harmony ruled, where wisdom and beauty lived as one. In the earliest civilizations of the Mediterranean, echoes of Atlantis began to bloom. The Greeks told tales of a golden age, of a time when humans and the divine lived side by side before the world grew restless. Philosophers spoke of an island of perfect order, a place where knowledge and virtue thrived. They called it Atlantis, after the son of Poseidon. You can imagine those first listeners gathered around fires, their faces illuminated by amber light. The storyteller's voice, slow and deep, they built circles upon the sea, each one shining brighter than the last. But when they forgot the rhythm of the world, the sea took them home. The listeners would close their eyes, picturing marble towers and glowing waters. Some would sigh softly, others would dream, and so Atlantis became more than a place. It became a mirror, reflecting what humanity longed for and what it feared to lose. Through centuries, every age found its own Atlantis. To the philosophers of Athens, it was a parable of wisdom and excess. To the scholars of Alexandria, a mystery to be rediscovered. To medieval dreamers, a lost paradise hidden by divine will. To explorers of the Renaissance, a beacon of discovery, proof that the world still held wonders unseen. Each retelling carried a piece of truth and a breath of longing. You might walk now through the halls of an ancient library, scrolls lining the walls like sleeping thoughts. The scent of parchment and ink fills the air. Somewhere, a scholar bends over a faded map, tracing coastlines that once might have held Atlantis. He doesn't search for proof, he searches for remembrance, for the feeling that somewhere in the world's deep past, humanity touched perfection. And beyond libraries and scrolls, the story endures in gentler ways, in art, in song, in dream. Painters render luminous islands bathed in eternal light. Poets write of seas that never forget. Composers imagine music that ripples like water. Even in modern times, the myth still stirs hearts, whispering of something both lost and waiting to be found. Atlantis becomes not just a memory, but a compass, guiding humankind toward wisdom, balance, and humility. Its story reminds us that beauty and power must always move in harmony, that even the brightest light must learn to rest. And yet, some say the echo is not only myth. Divers and scientists, centuries later, claim to have seen traces carved stone beneath the ocean floor, patterns too perfect to be chance. Sonar maps hint at vast structures buried beneath waves near the Pillars of Hercules or under the Caribbean. Others dismiss it as illusion, but still the fascination persists. Why? Because, perhaps, deep down, people didn't search for Atlantis to find its stones, but to rediscover the balance it once represented. Imagine standing again at the water's edge, somewhere in our own time. The waves move in slow rhythm, just as they did in ages past. Above them, the sky opens wide, the same sky the Atlanteans once watched. You close your eyes and listen. There it is, faint, almost inaudible, that same hum beneath the sound of the surf, the same steady whisper that has never faded. All things rise, all things return. Perhaps the sea still remembers them, their songs, their dreams, their laughter echoing through coral chambers. Perhaps in the shimmer of light upon the waves, the story continues. And maybe that's what Atlantis always meant to be. Not a warning, not a tragedy, but a reminder that nothing perfect is ever truly lost. It simply transforms, returning to the sea, to the sky, to us. You open your eyes, the world feels vast and ancient, and yet close, as if the ocean itself leans forward to listen. Atlantis may be gone, but its heartbeat lingers in every human search for harmony, in every act of creation, in every dream of a better world. Even now, as you breathe in the salt air, you are part of that same rhythm. The waves continue their endless pattern, folding over themselves in soft white curls. The stars shimmer above. The night carries the hush of something sacred, the silence left behind by an island that refused to die. Atlantis does not sleep beneath the sea. It breathes there, quietly, patiently, waiting for the world to remember how to listen again. Imagine dawn breaking over a quiet ocean. The horizon glows like warm silk, gold fading into rose, rose melting into blue. The air is still. The sea moves in long, patient sighs, its rhythm as steady as a heartbeat. You stand at the edge of the water, barefoot in cool sand, watching the first light touch the waves. There is no island here, no shining towers, no marble harbors, and yet something of Atlantis lingers, not in the stones, but in the calm, not in the past, but in the feeling. The world has changed countless times since Atlantis sank beneath the sea. Empires have risen and fallen, languages have bloomed and faded, stars have been charted and forgotten. But through it all, the memory of that island, of that civilization that sought harmony above all things, has never truly vanished. It exists now in quieter forms, in the way architects design cities that breathe with nature, in the way scientists study the oceans not as resources, but as living systems, in the way artists paint light that seems alive, shimmering with something ancient and kind. Every generation has carried a piece of Atlantis, often without knowing it. You might see it in a sculptor's curved line, reminiscent of the sea's own shape, in the careful geometry of gardens designed for reflection, in the hum of renewable energy that draws power from wind and tide, echoes of those Atlantean crystals that once pulsed with light. Even in language, the island lives. The word Atlantis itself carries weight. It means more than a place. It means the idea of balance, the longing for a world in harmony with itself. When someone says Atlantis, they are really saying, once we knew how to live gently with the earth. You walk slowly along the shore. The sand shifts under your feet, soft and cool above. Gulls trace arcs through the pale morning sky. Their cries sound distant, almost ancient, as if carried from another age. Far out at sea, the light glimmers, a reflection, perhaps, or something more. For a moment, you think you see the faint outline of towers beneath the surface. They flicker, shimmer, then vanish. Was it a trick of light, or a memory rising to greet the day? The sea does not answer. It never does. It only breathes, in and out, in and out, its song older than language. You remember the words the Atlanteans used to say, "We give to the sea, because we are the sea." And perhaps that is their true legacy, the understanding that we are not separate from the world around us, but part of its endless cycle. What we create, what we take, what we give, it all returns, like the tide, like breath, like story. The philosophers who came after Atlantis, the Greeks, the Egyptians, the thinkers of every age, all carried pieces of that wisdom forward. They wrote of justice as balance, of reason as harmony, of love as the meeting of opposites. Their words were new, but their meanings were old, born from that vanished island that once floated in perfect rhythm with the sea. You pause, watching sunlight spread wider across the horizon. The water glows gold now, as if lit from within. Somewhere out there, deep beneath the waves, coral has grown over the ruins of Atlantis. Fish weave through columns draped in seaweed. The stones that once echoed with music now hum softly with the current. The island did not die, it transformed. It became part of the living ocean, and above it, humanity continues to dream. Explorers still search, divers still map, poets still write. But perhaps the true rediscovery of Atlantis will not come from finding its ruins, but from remembering its rhythm, the way it lived in tune with its world. You look out to sea once more and imagine the Atlanteans, not as vanished people, but as distant teachers. You can almost hear their voices in the wind, calm, patient, endlessly gentle. Build with care, they whisper. Listen before you command. Let beauty and wisdom walk side by side. The tide curls around your feet, cool and clear. You feel the pull, soft, insistent, the same pull that once guided the island itself. And for a brief, luminous moment, you understand what they did, that everything is connected. The stars, the sea, the breath you take, all part of the same endless circle. You close your eyes. The world hums around you, low and steady, like the voice of time itself. All things rise. All things return. The phrase echoes softly within you, not as a warning, but as comfort. Because even the lost find new forms. Even the forgotten leave light behind. And so the story of Atlantis continues in the hush between waves, in the golden warmth of morning, in the dreams that linger just before waking. The sea stretches endless before you. The sky opens above. Somewhere beyond sight, an island sleeps, not gone, not lost, just waiting for the right moment to rise again in memory. You breathe with the rhythm of the tide. In, out, in, out. The waves move gently against the shore, whispering what they have always whispered. Nothing is ever truly lost. It simply changes form. The wind sighs across the water, and for a moment, everything feels still. The ocean, the sky, your heartbeat, all perfectly aligned. The story of Atlantis has ended, and yet it continues, softly, patiently, forever. Now, as the story settles within you, feel the calm of the ocean surrounding your thoughts. The tide is steady. The stars above are constant. The world, your world, is safe and still. Atlantis has returned to silence. And you, dear traveler, may rest as well. Breathe in the rhythm of the sea and let yourself drift into the deep, gentle waters of sleep. Good night. May your dreams be calm and your heart remember, nothing is ever truly lost.